All right, what is going on? We are officially up and running. Welcome to episode 2, live stream number 2 of Pop Tarts Fantasy Football, the POPCAST, as we like to call it. Um, I'm joined by, my name is Jake. I'm joined by Jake on my left. In the upper left corner, we have Brandon, and in the corner above me, we have Jacob.
Torres, you're on mute.
Oh shit, they could hear me. Don't worry. They can hear me. Don't worry. The only thing was that you guys couldn't.
Oh,
But
I was about
this
to
is
say
yeah.
because I have the stream, I have it here to my left, so I'm like,
Nah.
and I have that muted, so I'm like, is this kid talking to no one right now? Okay, sorry about
No,
that.
no, yeah, we're good. They can hear me. This is
All right, sorry.
nah, you're good. This is Jake. This is Brandon. This is Jacob. Like I said, episode 2. Jake, Brandon, Jacob. Just introduce yourselves a little bit, you guys.
All right, I'm Jake. I was here last episode. Um, I guess I'll just redo it again. I'm from New Jersey. What else? I go to Rutgers, New York. I'm a commuter. Favorite team is the Seahawks, and yeah. My team is 3-3 in fantasy. I just want to say that we're looking for a comeback season right now.
Yeah, no, we're Seahawks fans around here. Brandon, what's going on?
Up again, yeah. Seahawks fans all around here except for this one kid over here. But yeah, again, I was here last time. Brandon, go to Penn State University from Jersey as well. And yeah, my fantasy team. Since Jake wants to talk about it, is my fantasy team is currently 5-1, sitting pretty over here.
Yeah, we got what is it? I think it's 5-1. I think Jacob is the only one right now in our league that's 6-0. You're 5-1. I think Jake's like 4-2. So we're all doing pretty fair. Jacob, what's going on with you?
Oh yeah, I'm 6-0. Well, I'm Jacob. I go to Rutgers, New Brunswick. I dorm here, and I'm a Packers fan. I even got a cheese set up here.
Dude, take that off right now.
Ew, absolutely ew.
Yeah, so how it works around here is usually we talk about either players or teams at the start. We'll move on to like start sit, move into like the waiver wire, and then we're actually gonna bring up a new segment today called Panic or Patience, and we're gonna tell you guys whether you should be selling now while you can, or just waiting for these players to boom. Um, I'll start with my first weekly takeaway, and then we'll go in like a clockwise order, I guess. So then Jake, Brandon, Jacob. Just talk when I'm done talking. I think the Dolphins are. This is going to be a bit of a hot take. Um, bottom five. I think they're a bottom five team. Some people wouldn't go that far. Some people would say that they're bottom 10, maybe bottom, like just maybe the lower half. I think they're bottom five without Tua. We saw what happened against the Seahawks. Yes, the Seahawks are a lot better team this season. Um, we're 3-0 right now. We're going strong. Our defense looks great. Line needs a little bit of work, but all our skill positions, the defense looks great. Um, but we saw what happened against the Bills. It was rough. It looks like their offense has just completely like fumbled and like it's just not the same. And for that reason, I think they're bottom five. I think Mike McDaniel, he's really at like a hard position. He doesn't know what to do now that Tua is gone. Now he's gonna concuss. I actually don't know how much time it's gonna take for him to get back. I haven't looked into that, but I think they're a bottom five team right now. Um, and I think it's gonna continue that way until they can find a good quarterback, or unless Skylar Thompson just goes absolutely insane. But I think they're a bottom five team until further notice.
Yeah, I agree. They're not doing very well. I mean, if you watch the game on Sunday, they just looked horrendous. Again, it's the Seahawks. They have a top 10 defense, in my opinion. A little bit biased, but we saw against the Bills. It's just not going very good. Um, and if anybody wants to say anything about it, they can, because I kind of the Dolphins talk kind of segues into my next point. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
My next thing was it's kind of like a question in a way. Is Bryce Young the problem? If so, what to do with him? Me personally, I think Yes, he's not so much a problem, but he just wasn't performing. It was the right thing to move on from him, and I think the Panthers should trade him. Now, the top candidates for this trade, I would say, are the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Seahawks. I think if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I'm putting in, a fourth, a fifth, maybe even a third for Bryce Young. I'm investing in him. Let's say Tua doesn't come back this year. Let's say Tua never comes back. Tua can still mentor Bryce Young, and I think Bryce Young still has an opportunity to be not one of the greats, but still be a very good quarterback in the NFL. He just needs the chance. He needs the mentor. I mean, who did he have in Carolina teaching him what to do? Nobody. So yeah. Anybody want to say anything on that?
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. The only thing I'd say is like, who is Bryce Young gonna go under? Because now he's gonna be put in a position where he's now the QB1. He's better than Skylar Thompson. We know that. So he's now gonna be put in that QB1 role. Yeah, he's gonna learn from Tua, but I would rather see someone, maybe even like a vet coming out of nowhere, kind of like how Joe Flacco did with the Browns. I'd kind of like to see that, like a comeback story, part two.
I also think Bryce Young is just pretty bad physically. If you watch the game, there's some throws that he just can't make, like seam shots, hole shots. Those are like balls you have to zip in. He really doesn't have the arm strength. He's too short. You can see him jumping over people. I'm not gonna say he's completely done because there's short quarterbacks in the NFL like Kyler Murray that are still going crazy. But I mean, he has to work on a lot of things right now. I also think the Dolphins should get Ryan Tannehill or another one of the veteran quarterbacks because they still have a chance this season if they put it all together. But Ryan Tannehill was also a Dolphin at some point, so it would be a nice coming home story.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, I think I had to just jump in on here and agree with Jacob. I'm not the tallest man myself, but Bryce Young is 5 foot nothing. He's got to jump over all of his offensive linemen to make any of these throws. You can see it. You've seen it. I don't think Bryce Young is a. I don't think Bryce Young is a very good quarterback. I think it was a, very bad decision. I mean, I guess at the time it seemed like a great decision, but we've seen that it's turned out to be a horrible decision for the Panthers to trade all those picks to get Bryce Young at number one. And obviously, looking at the what ifs, what could have been for them. They could have had Caleb Williams had they not traded these picks to get Bryce Young, but just not a great quarterback in my opinion. And that honestly, it kind of leads me into my next into my one of my weekly takeaways, which is Andy Dalton. Personally, big Andy Dalton guy right now. I think he is the man for the job in Carolina. I mean, obviously we saw it. He came in for his first game, turned this team upside down, turned him into a team that could actually win games. Took his first start in the field, threw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, he looked great out there. I think he's going to be the quarterback for the rest of the season going forward. And I think if anybody's going to turn this team around, it's going to have to be Andy Dalton. He's got the veteran experience.
Dude, the only reason I don't like you talking about Andy Dalton is because I took the Raiders in my survivor pool, and I was talking to my dad, and I was like, dude, I think I'm gonna take the Jets. Like Thursday night football, if I get out, I get out, but I'll get out Thursday. He's like, no, dude, the Raiders, we beat the Ravens, so took the Raiders. Andy Dalton decided that he was prime Tom Brady, and completely went off. So it was a rough day for me.
What's really funny about Andy Dalton is it kind of shows like the state the NFL is in right now, where you go like from the 2010s, there's a bunch of pocket passers, and then now you see all the athletic guys and they're trying to keep him in the pocket, and take the short dump offs, and Andy Dalton's perfectly okay doing that because he came up in the era where that was like the norm. You sit in the pocket and pick the defensive apart, and now teams are forcing you to do that because all the athletic quarterbacks. So I feel like he's a good representation of like what defenses are trying to take away and like how the game has changed like since he's came in the league.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
agree.
mean, Andy Dalton looked great. He looked good. I like him. The only problem is where are they gonna do it? Like, he's not a future franchise quarterback. They still need to find that franchise quarterback. I mean, let's say they turn around the season, they contend. What's it gonna lead to? They're not winning the Super Bowl.
It's definitely going to be like a bit of a rebuild year almost, even though they've had plenty of those. Um, But yeah, I had I had one other point. Um, the Saints, they're still a top contender. I don't really know if we want to get into that. You know, they had their first two games where they boomed. They played the Eagles. It was I think 15-12. Bit of a rough score, but you know, you see the Saints play, and especially with players like Chris Olave was actually able to shine out a lot that game. But I think Derek Carr was just put in a really weird position, and Alvin Kamara was shooken up um, pretty like into the game. So it was a weird position for the Saints, but I think they're still top five team easily, and I don't think there's a question about that. I don't know. You guys could disagree with top five. It's a bit insane, but
Yeah, no. See, I said it last week, and I'm gonna have to stand by that. I still don't think the Saints are a contender. I do think they're very, very much a pretender. Teams we saw them beat, who were they? It was the Panthers. It was the Bryce Young Panthers, and then they play a good team. They play a real contender like the Philadelphia Eagles, and they just don't know what to do. Derek Carr can't get the offense running, can't get the ball through the air. Just didn't play very well. I think if they continue to play, you know, these decent teams, I don't think they come out with wins in very many of them.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a big Saints guy. I mean, yes, they do still have a chance to be a contender, but I just don't like them, quite honestly. No offense.
On the opposite side of contenders, I think two teams that are like looking down the barrel right now are the Bengals and Jags. They both are 0-3. They both have very bad losses. And I saw a stat today that was only six NFL teams in NFL history have started off 0-3 and made the playoffs. So for both teams, I feel like both teams are in a really bad spot, especially taking bad losses early in the season. It's hard to come back from that because those are games you're supposed to win. Almost like a college team taking tune-up games. Those are games you have to win for your confidence and your morale, especially when you play good teams in the future. So I think both teams are in a really bad position right now.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's weird.
the Jags, they looked absolutely terrible. They looked so bad. It was just a hard watch. I think it was second quarter. It was towards the end. I just turned it off and went straight to the Bengals game. I could not watch it. It was unbearable. The Bengals, I see them finishing like even or like 9-8, something like that. It's just not their year. Doesn't
Dude,
look
they
quite
were
good.
they were able to put up points though. Like it wasn't
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's the Commanders. It's guaranteed they
still.
put up points.
I mean,
It's
here's my thing here is that the Jags, I'm gonna say, yeah, no, this team's in the mud. But the Bengals happens every year. Joe Burrow comes out, has a pretty iffy start, pretty bad spot, but he always ends up bringing them somehow to the playoffs, and I feel like that might happen again this year.
dude, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, the Commanders are still an NFL caliber team. They still have NFL players. So anything can kind of happen with that.
I don't think it's been this bad before though. I mean,
Yeah.
they've started off like 0-2 versus like some rough teams. But I mean, right, just the fact they took two losses to two bad teams, like is like kills their whole season, especially because they play a lot of divisional opponents, and as we all know, divisional opponents play other divisional opponents very tough. So teams like the Steelers and the Ravens, even if they split against them, they're still in a really bad spot in terms of record. Let's say they split against all of them, they have six losses. So I mean, they got to find almost every other win past that.
Yeah, no, I mean, the stat that you bring up too is pretty crazy. Got a comment from Jake. Pop Tarts fantasy football rocks. Jake, we love you. Thank you.
That is probably my mom. Just
That.
saying.
um,
That is probably my mom. All right.
we're gonna go on to
Anyways.
yeah, we're gonna move on to start and sits. Um, my starting opinions. Look, he dropped the 40 bomb. One more guy for the guy. Jawan Jennings. If somehow nobody in your league has him, start him. Um, next is Devin Singletary and Jerome Ford. Listen, these are two players that they're gonna be running their backfield. I know that we had a scare. I think it was last week with Deontay Foreman. and he was taking some of the snaps. It's not the case. It's still Ford's backfield. Singletary, we kind of showed he kind of showed like his second half of last year in the last game. I remember when he had a couple 20 bombs in the second half of the 2023-2024 season. And he kind of showcased that with the Giants, and a lot of controversy pre-drafting, your fantasy teams was Singletary. We saw Saquon not really perform in this offense as good as he could have. Do we think why do we think that Singletary is gonna be any different? Look, he's gonna perform. Um, we saw highlights. We saw a really small glimpse of it in the most recent game against the Browns, which looked at the Browns. But you also have Myles Garrett, who's an elite edge rusher over there. So it's a lot of pressure for him. And my last guy, with Jalen Warren hurt, I'm gonna have to say start Najee. Um, Look, it's always kind of been 60-40, Najee, Warren. Now it's going to, and maybe a little bit of Cordell Patterson, but now it's going to be almost 100% Najee Harris. He's going to get so much volume. You have George Pickens to throw to there, but that's going to be about it. So those are my starts, and then we'll move around, and I'll say my sits.
I guess I'm up next. My starts, first off, I'm going to go Cardinals. When I say that, I mean Kyler Murray, James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride. I would say they're all pretty startable in this game. I feel like this is going to be kind of a repeat of the Bucks Commanders game. It's just going to be absolute, probably 50 bomb on them. Cardinals are definitely going to go off on them. That's all I got to say, really. Next one is Romeo, I can't say it, Odunze. We kind of saw a little bit of a breakout game from him. 6 receptions on 11 targets for 112 yards and a touchdown. And a little bit also of a connection with Caleb. The Rams have a terrible pass defense this year, evident by them giving up the second most points to wide receivers. I'm sure this game we will see a lot of deep bombs to Dunze, and I'm expecting a big game from him. Lastly is James Cook. I talked very highly about him last stream, and I feel that he will keep cooking. Little pun there. No, but he's been the guy for the Bills this year, especially in the red zone. He has the most touchdown upside in the NFL, debatably, and we all know touchdowns very big thing in fantasy. But yeah, we also saw him do pretty good against Jags last night. Guaranteed that was a game where all the Bills players did good. But yeah, I'm expecting a big game from him too.
All right, yeah. So I guess I'll go next, and for my first start player, I got Deontay Johnson. We saw him not see that many targets in the first 2 weeks. He wasn't doing too well, but like I said, with Andy Dalton leading this offense now, I think he'll be playing a lot better. We saw him see, 14 targets in week 3. Well, I know 14 targets isn't going to be a usual. It's not going to be something he sees often. It is a lot of targets for a wide receiver, but I think he could definitely see upwards in the range of 8 to 10 targets per game now, especially with Adam Thielen being placed on IR. So Deontay Johnson's definitely a guy. If you have him on your bench, I'd definitely start him if possible. And then my next start player, I'm going to say DK Metcalf. He had obviously another player. He had a rough start to the season. DK Metcalf may be an obvious one. He may be an automatic starter for some people, a flex wide receiver too. But I know there are some people who may have had him on the bench after the first 2 weeks. But, after the monstrous two games he's had, over 100 yards, 270-plus touchdowns, I think DK Metcalf's going to be I think at this point he's made himself the clear wide receiver one in Seattle. And then my third pick is going to be Chuba Hubbard. Chuba, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. I'm sorry if I'm not. But, this guy, again, rough start to the season on this Panthers team. But he came out here last week, put up a good 27 points, I think it was. Something like that. And that range might be different depending on your league scoring. But, and he's got a really favorable matchup this week against the Cincinnati defense, who haven't been pretty good against the run so far this season.
All right, I got my starts. First one, I also got Deontay. He's just seen a lot of volume, especially with Andy Dalton being as good as he was. He's going to see a lot more targets, and their offense is rolling right now from what we've seen. I mean, you can only go off the last game because that's the only game Andy Dalton started. I also got Tony Pollard. He's playing a weak Miami defense, and Tony Pollard has gotten volume in previous games when they're not playing the Packers because the Packers defense is great. And also, I got Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson, he saw 11 targets, I think, from a tight end perspective. That is insane, especially this season where I don't even think Kelsey has gotten
Yeah,
11
that's
targets.
pretty crazy, bro.
11 targets in his first 2 games. Kelsey probably didn't even touch that. 11 targets in one game, albeit they were down a lot and had to throw the ball, but still, he's being looked at a lot. And in a tight end year where we haven't seen any tight end produce, Laporta's bad, Andrews put up 0, Kelsey hasn't been putting up anything. Jake Ferguson is a great player to start, especially if you got him off waivers.
Nah, yeah. I mean, listen, Dak had 51 passing attempts, but still, I don't think his
Yeah.
that's still a 20% target share, right? Um, so those are our starts. We're gonna move on to people that we think you should avoid. My first sit, or I'm just gonna say both my sits right now, and I'll explain them. DeAndre Swift and Rashad White. With Swift, you saw Roshan Johnson, who one of us might get into later, but Roshan Johnson, who received a lot of attention. I mean, and he really showed why he deserved to be in that offense. It's not they paid a lot of money for DeAndre Swift to come to Chicago, and it's not paying off. He's one of those players where you kind of drafted him. I don't remember what his actual draft position was, but I think it was pretty like in the middle rounds. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, but it's not paying off. The dude, he's not getting points on the board, and you kind of need him to, especially in that that RB2 flex option one, kind of placement that you want to put him in. So it's kind of weird. And then with Rashad White, dude, he's getting Bucky Irving is outshining this dude in every single way. The kid from Oregon, who albeit he's a little bit small, right? I think he's 5'9", 190, right? And he ran, honestly, like a 4.6 at the combine. But he is able to move around defenders really quick just from getting the snap, and that's something that he's going to get you that average 5 yards per carry without a problem. This is not going to be a one-time, two-time thing. He's going to keep producing these 5 yards per carry games. And overall, I think the coaches are going to notice that, and I think eventually they're going to be making this guy the clear running back one. Rashad White, he's underproducing. Try to sell him if you can. I personally don't like him. He was great last season. This season, he's not putting up the same numbers. That's why I'm sitting him, and I'm going to continue to say that until I see otherwise.
Right. My sits here. Seahawks running backs. We still don't know who's gonna get the start here. Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet, or even like both of them. But this game is going to be a battle through the air. We saw it last year and the year before that. I think last year it was like 41-37, and then 2 years ago it was like 33, something like that. But we saw Gino and Jared Goff respectfully throw for like 300 each. So I don't really like the run game here. Also, the Lions have been amazing against the run this year. Shout out to Aiden Hutchinson. They've only allowed 8 fantasy points on average to running backs, and this is like not against no names running backs. This is against Kyron Williams, James Conner, and Rashad White. So I would not start Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet this week. Next up, I have Derek Carr. I said this last week. The Saints' offense is going to die down, and it was shown in the Eagles game. I feel that the Falcons will probably obliterate this team, and we're not going to see much of Derek Carr going off. We saw Fields and Hurts struggle against this past defense, and even Mahomes had an okay game against them. So I feel Derek Carr is just not it this week. Lastly, Garrett Wilson. Even though Garrett Wilson is Garrett Wilson, he's great, right? Pat Surtain has been locking up wide receiver ones around the league. He's been pretty insane this week. So, yeah, I just don't like starting him.
Yeah, I'm gonna come in and say I don't know about that take about about Garrett Wilson. I know the wide receiver ones
Dude,
have been getting.
Bias. You have him on
he's
your
only saying
team.
this because he has Garrett Wilson on his team. By
You're
the
only
way,
saying that. I'm spreading bad juju to you. I hope he drops like 5 points.
No, I think Garrett Wilson's target share has been going up and up each week, and I think it's just going to continue to go up. Rodgers seems to be building a bit more of a connection with him there. I don't know. I don't like the Garrett Wilson take, but for my sits, I'm gonna start with J.K. Dobbins, Chargers running back. He had a great. He had a great first 2 weeks, putting up 20 in each week, scoring a touchdown. But last week we saw wasn't really able to get it done out there on the field. Saw pretty similar. What would you call it? Like carries, I guess you'd just say. Saw a pretty similar number of carries, but wasn't able to get it done on the ground. He's got an even tougher matchup this week against I think it's the third or fifth ranked Cincinnati rushing defense. So, I just don't like J.K. Dobbins this week. My second is just going to be, it's a group of people, and it's going to be any Colts wide receiver you may have, whether that's Michael Pittman, whether that's whether that's Alec Pierce, or whether that's Josh Downs. I don't like him. Anthony Richardson, shoulder's feeling a bit iffy. Hasn't been able to get the ball down the field the way he needs to. Hasn't been too accurate. So if you've got any of these wide receivers, I don't think I'd start any of them. I don't think last week any of them put up over. I think the highest was about 6 points for one of them, but that was about it. And obviously, the three of them kind of share the same number of targets. And then my final player I'm going to go to for my sits is Jalen Waddle. Yes, he is Jalen Waddle. He is the wide receiver too on the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill does take a lot of the attention from him, but we've seen that even Tyreek hasn't been doing too well with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. So you've got Jalen Waddle. If possible, if you've got somebody else you could put in besides him, I'm taking the opportunity to sit Jalen Waddle if I can.
that's weird because you were just talking about starting Garrett Wilson, but now all of a sudden Jalen Waddle comes into question. It's time to sit him. It's time to put it down.
Well,
Yeah,
Jalen Waddle doesn't have a quarterback. Let's be real.
I don't think Garrett Wilson's that good right now. I think you should trade him right now.
Yeah, honestly, I would just give Garrett Wilson.
You should trade him. Trade him to me.
I'll take him. All right, Jacob, you're up next.
Yeah, for my sits, I also got Pittman specifically. He's been like really inconsistent this year. He hasn't really. I mean, Anthony Richardson doesn't throw the ball short, which is where Pittman thrives. He's like a not I'm not gonna say a possession receiver, but like he likes running those short routes. And Anthony Richardson just doesn't throw them. He likes chucking the ball deep. I also got Mark Andrews. I don't know if you could start him right now. It's just too up and down. I mean, even Isaiah likely outscored him last week. I think a waiver tight end might be in order. If you have Mark Andrews, maybe someone like Ferguson, which I mentioned before. If he's on waivers, that's pretty insane. He's getting an insane amount of targets. And yeah, that's basically it.
All right. I mean, moving on to the waiver wire, I think all of us got our opinions out on either you're sitting or you're starting. My guy, if you have a pretty deep league, you'll start with if you don't have a deep league. I said Bucky Irving and Braylon Allen. They're two people that, if your league is not that deep, they're not paying attention to the waiver wire. Pick these dudes up, please. They're going to be insane superstars. We already talked about Bucky Irving when we talked about Rashad White. Braylon Allen, the dude's being played at receiver too. I mean, the Jets, like offensive schematics, I guess you could say, they really trust him playing him anywhere. And if Breece Hall goes down, we've seen an injury history with Breece Hall in the past. So if Breece Hall goes down, Braylon Allen is easily, I'd say probably top 10, top 15 running back in fantasy. So that's my guy. If your league is going to be a bit deeper, I suggest playing Tyrone Tracy Jr. from the Giants. This dude, he's playing behind Singletary, but he was a running back in high school. When he went to college, they played him at receiver, and then he went back to the league, and now he's playing back at running back. But the dude's explosive. He is fast. I'm telling you, if Singletary goes down, once again, your waiver wire running backs, they're not going to be your RB1s. These are people that if the starting running back goes down, they're going to step in and they're going to play a large role in your fantasy points. And I think that Tyrone Tracy's going to be able to do just that.
Okay, going towards me, kind of going back to Garrett Wilson, my waiver wire pickup is going to be Allen Lazard. He has sneakily been wide receiver 15 through the first 3 weeks, which is kind of crazy. But a lot to like about him. He has 5 red zone targets. He has a 89% snap shared compared to Wilson's 93. And his yards per reception is pretty good. It's first for the Jets. With Pat Surtain being a big threat to Wilson this week, expect a decent game from Lazard, and more to come as the Jets' deep threat wide receiver. Secondly, I got Jonathan Brooks. He's rostered in like 65% of leagues, so he may or may not be there. But we finally saw the Panthers' offense finally come alive. If Brooks isn't picked up in your league, pick him up right now. Add him to the IR. He should be back week 5, week 6. But I believe that he will work his way into the Panthers' RB1 spot, and we will see a lot from him towards the end of the year probably. But yeah. And my shout of the week, this might be a weekly thing, we don't know. But last week I shout out Jalen Naylor, and he dropped I think it was 13.4. He got a touchdown. I told you he would get a touchdown. So yeah, I mean 13.4, nothing crazy, but like if you needed it, he got you those points if you started him. But my shout of the week is LeJordan Humphrey. Again, you might be like, who? But we saw him have 6 receptions on 8 targets for 37 yards against a pretty decent Bucs secondary. He's sneakily been making his way up in the snap count, taking over wide receiver 2, Josh Reynolds. I'm sure Cortland Sutton won't see much of the ball this week, especially going against Sauce Gardner. So LeJordan will go off, and I'm calling it. Put him in right now. He's rostered in, I think, like 1% of leagues, so he's definitely there. But yeah, moving it towards Brandon.
No, hold on, Brandon, before you say anything, what if we just make it Jake's shout outs? Like nobody else shouts out a player. He shouts out Jalen Naylor, he shouts out Jordan
I'm not
Humphrey.
complaining about that. I'm not complaining about that. But yeah.
Hey, we'll see if he, if this is a horrible take. I think he's cut off here. But yeah, I'm gonna go next into my waiver wires, and it's gonna get pretty repetitive here. You're gonna hear me talk about this guy a lot today. I don't know. It's just so great to see him doing so well. But my first one's gonna be Andy Dalton. If you need a quarterback on your team, obviously the quarterbacks in fantasy have been struggling a bit. You've had C.J. Stroud, a big guy, hasn't put up over 20 yet. You've got a lot of these big name NFL QBs putting up mediocre fantasy stats, but Andy Dalton seems like he's going to be hucking that ball down the field, getting it through the air, scoring some touchdowns. So if you really need a QB in your league and Andy Dalton's there in the waiver wire, I'm picking him up and having him as my starter. My second pick is going to be Andre Yoshivas. Stepped up while T. Higgins was out. Jamar Chase was a little hurt. Came in here looking as the wide receiver 3 on the Cincinnati Bengals, and saw a lot of these red zone targets. Scored 2 touchdowns in his first game. Came out in week 3 with T. Higgins back. T. Higgins didn't get to see many of those red zone targets either. It was mostly Chase and Yoshivas. So, if Yoshivas is seeing these red zone targets, he did catch a touchdown as well. It's looking like there's a lot of potential for him there. If you need I wouldn't go as far to say he's a wide receiver 1, obviously not, or a wide receiver 2, but if you need a flex, you're in a crunch, I'd pick up Andre Yoshivas if he's available on your waiver wire.
I got almost 3 of the same player on different teams. One, not so much. The first one is Cordell Patterson. Jalen Warren's not playing this week, and the Steelers love to switch things up. Cordell Patterson played a lot more in the game, the latest game, and I think he'll see a lot more touches with Jalen Warren being out. And Najee's questionable, so he might just get the green light as the full-time back. I also got Emmanuel Wilson from the Packers. He outplayed Josh Jacobs last game, and if he keeps doing that, he'll see a lot more touches. He got the touchdown too. Josh Jacobs hasn't scored a touchdown yet, which is kind of concerning. and Roshan Johnson. I also think he might take over the job. Swift runs too much left and right, and you can see the difference between him and Roshan Johnson. Roshan Johnson gets downhill and gets you yards, and it might be either more of a split backfield or he might just see more of the work, which is definitely good for fantasy and why you should probably pick him up.
Yeah, I was
Yeah, after
gonna.
that Oh, sorry.
No,
Okay.
no, you're. I don't care. I don't care. You're good.
After that Packers game, I ran to the waivers for Wilson. Everybody else is
Yeah,
good.
I was
Talker.
waiting. I thought Jacob was gonna say something, so I was. Nah, you're good. All right. We're gonna move on to a new segment this week. We call it Panic or Patience. These are players that you probably drafted them probably within the first 5, 6, 7 rounds of your draft, and now you're wondering what to do with them. They're not performing at the level that you want them to perform at. We weren't here week one, but week one it would be a player like Drake London who I want to say he dropped like 3.5 points or like 4.5 points, something that, you drafted him in your, 2, 3 turn. That's a guy that you don't really want to be, missing out on a lot of targets. So that's what we're going to be talking about in Panic or Patience. I say the players that I want to have patience on are Rashid Shaheed, Zay Flowers, and J.K. Dobbins. Um, I'll just talk about them briefly because I know we have people here who, they only have 1 or 2 people in their patience list. But Rashid Shaheed, he had a bad game. This dude's only being used for the deep threat. Um, his target share didn't decrease. He still had 5 targets, which I think in the first 2 games he had 7. But he's a deep threat player. He's fast off. He's fast. The dude's gonna be zooming past defenders. Maybe not against the Falcons. You know, we don't know. I'm not pretty sure. I'm not too familiar with the Falcons defense, but come after the Falcons. Sorry, the Falcons. The Falcons. The Rashid Shaheed's gonna get a lot more points. Second player that I picked is Zay Flowers. He had a bad week. We all saw it. From 1 to 10, if I were to rank my level of scaredness, it'd be like a 2. He's the strong wide receiver one in the Ravens offense. Lamar is going to be delivering the ball to him a lot. I guess he just didn't see a lot of targets. It's whatever. It happens with wide receivers all the time. Don't panic on this dude. J.K. Dobbins, he probably is going to have a bad game this week, but that's not to say that you're going to panic on him even more. Coming from Ohio State, they produce great running backs. They've produced, right now they're in the works with Quinshawn Judkins and I think Travion Henderson, 2 elite wide receivers, not wide receivers, running backs in college football. And J.K. Dobbins is no different. We got scared after the injury, but he's a player that, Gus Edwards might be taking those red zone touches, but J.K. Dobbins does not worry about the end zone because he's scoring touchdowns from 20, 30, 40 yards out. So there's no reason to be panicking over red zone touch or like end zone touches when J.K. Dobbins is going to be handling all of that. So those are my patience players. We'll move on to, later down the line we'll handle those.
All right. My first one is kind of like a minor panic. It's AR5. I mean, these guys already know that I'm panicking a little bit on him. My only note really for him is try and sell him high if you can. If you can't, just hold, see what happens. But man, he's just looked terrible. He's looked absolutely terrible. But you never know. Maybe he makes a turnaround. But if you can, sell high. If you can't, again, just hold him for a few weeks. Next up, I got Nick Chubb. Panic. You might be like, what? He hasn't played. This Browns team has not been great. We can all say that. They lost to the Giants. When a team loses to the Giants, it's reps for them. Their line hasn't looked that good. And I know it's Nick Chubb, but I'm just not liking him this year. If you have Chubb and you've been holding on to him, I'm looking to sell him and try to sell him high, get him some value before he returns, and we see that he doesn't produce on the Browns. Lastly, Tyreek Hill, I have him as. Oh, Jacob, if you want to say something, you could.
You're not getting any value out of Chubb now. I'm not trading. You're not getting rid of him.
I'm not saying I'm gonna trade him. I might just hold on to him. This might be
You
all
did.
fake. No, but
Are you
yeah.
just joking there?
No. I mean, now that I said him, I'm not gonna try trade him to you guys. I'm doing this for the viewers to give them advice. My team's set. But anyways, Tyreek Hill, patience. I'm not trading Tyreek Hill unless you can get like a top wide receiver like Neighbors, Jettas, Godwin, Jamar. Unless you can get someone like that, I'm keeping him personally. Is he gonna produce at a round one wide receiver level? No. But it's Tyreek Hill, even with Skylar Thompson or Tim Boyle, we will still see Tyreek put up pretty decent numbers. Expect like 13, 14 a week from him. You know, it's Tyreek.
All
Yeah,
right, if Jake's done, Jake's done here. Sorry, Jake, did you have something to say?
No, Amin just wants someone to trade him a tight end, but I kind of already did that. So, Amin, you're set. Don't worry about your tight end, bro.
All right, and I'm gonna go into my panic or patience here now, and uh, you know, Jake, you may not be too happy about this one. This guy I have, I know you just traded for him, but major panic in my opinion on Mark Andrews. This is the guy who went in the middle rounds of the draft. You know, everybody thought he was going to be the same old Mark Andrews he always been, but through 3 weeks, we've seen this guy. He's position ranked 29 in fantasy. He's averaging only 4.2 points, and he's seen, I think it's something along the lines of 8 or 9 targets, only 8 or 9 targets over the first 3 weeks. If you drafted Mark Andrews, I feel bad for you. He put up a fat donut last week. He's just not a guy I'm going to want to have on my team as my tight end. I think there's a lot of I'd go as far to say there's a lot of better talent on the waiver wire that you could get instead of Mark Andrews. And then my player I'm gonna pick for I'm gonna go with Ramondre Stevenson. I'm gonna say, have some patience on him. He had a bad week, obviously. Didn't drop very many points, but this is a Patriots offense that likes to run the ball. And, I think he's gonna bounce back. He's gonna be that running back. He is the clear RB1 in New England, doesn't have much competition. So if you have Ramondre Stevenson, if you're upset about his very, very low points last week, I'm gonna have some patience with him, and I'd continue to start him.
Yeah, I agree with Ramondre. I mean, I said it last week. Same exact stuff.
For my panic or patience, I got Jaden Reed. He had 2 down weeks, but that's with Malik Willis. When Jordan Love comes back, he'll probably return. Not as much to his first week performance, because I don't know if he could ever repeat that. I mean, he had 2 insanely long touchdowns, but he'll definitely see more targets and see more game time and more receptions. And for my only somewhat panic, because if Tua comes back or if they get another quarterback, he'll be fine. But right now it's A-Chain. I think A-Chain is just like they're in a bad offense. And in a bad offense, it's hard for running backs to score touchdowns and really see the volume that they need to see to go crazy in fantasy. The owner in our league swears by A-Chain, but I definitely do not agree. Uh, he says just bad quarterback play will get him more targets somehow. I think bad quarterback play leads to less yards, which is less opportunity for A-Chain. So I think if they just keep being bad, I think A-Chain is gonna lose points like fast.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. In a PPR league, a running back who has a good receiving upside is somebody you definitely want. Without a quarterback, 18 definitely loses that receiving upside.
I honestly, I'm gonna say it's like 50-50 with Achan for me. I understand he's in a bad offense, but like he's still Devon Achan, you know? Like this is still a guy that he runs really, really fast, you know? And that's really all there is to him. But he's light. He could get injured, you know, that's the only other risk that we have with him. But as far as I didn't say any panic players. I'll say a panic player really quick. Mike Evans, panic on this dude. Try to get rid of him, please, because with the way things are looking, Chris Godwin is playing very, very well in the slot. He's getting a lot more points. He is, I think, the wide receiver 3 right now in all fantasy and PPR leagues. So he's got a lot of points. We can kind of shift this into our, our after podcast talk. But Chris Godwin, he's not. I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon. I mean, maybe not consistent 20 bombs, but he's definitely taken Mike Evans' job. I mean, maybe not as far as an NFL perspective goes, but fantasy wise, Mike Evans is not looking good at all.
I have to disagree with the Mike Evans point. I mean, he was up against Pat Surtain. It's Pat Surtain. He's not gonna produce, but I wouldn't sell Mike Evans. I'm keeping him. I really like Mike Evans.
No, I'm sorry. Me personally, if I have Mike Evans, I'm selling him as quick as possible. I have said this for years. Mike Evans is probably the most touchdown dependent wide receiver in the league. This is going just off, stats off my mind, but I'm pretty sure he averages something like, I think it's about, I mean, it's definitely under 10 points a game in games where he doesn't score a touchdown. Obviously, in games where he does score a touchdown, he's usually scoring one. Oftentimes, if he's scoring one, he's scoring more than one, but, he's a very, very 50-50 player, in my opinion. If he's not scoring touchdowns, he's not scoring you fantasy points. He doesn't get the volume. He doesn't get the yards. No, I don't like Mike Evans, and I'm selling him.
Say what you want, man. Say what you want. But if nobody has anything else, we could see if there's questions in chat. Like if anybody has questions in chat. If not, we could just generally talk about football.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see anything. Amin is just very happy that he has Chris Godwin, and I think it's his other league. He actually did just trade me Mark Andrews. I'm just gonna hold on to Andrews just because why not? In case Likely gets injured or Zay Flowers gets injured, he's gonna get some targets. But I mean, that's really the only reason that I'm holding on to him.
I don't know. Mark Andrews is getting up there in age. I think he's like him and Kelsey. Him and Kelsey were the two guys, usually the big two tight ends that everybody wants to have, and they're just not performing right now. Very unfortunate, very sad to see, but they're not performing.
Kelsey talks about retiring every year, I swear. For the last 4 years, he's had retirement talks. So I think it might be time.
I think Kelsey needs to spend a little more time in the offseason at practice and not on a Taylor Swift's World Tour.
He's old. He's the same age as Gronk. But Gronk has been out of the league for 3 years.
Yeah.
He's old.
Yeah, we have a question from Amin. Thoughts on Travis Etienne? I'll start. We can do the same, unless Jake, you want to start.
Jags just suck. Don't have a Jags player. That's all I gotta say. Trade him. I'll take him open arms. I'll give you Alexander Madison.
I'll give you. I was gonna say Chuba, but.
Yeah, no, I don't have much opinion on ETN. I just don't like any Jags players right now. He was great last year, but I don't know. That offense hasn't been clicking. There's not much going on for them. They're definitely gonna finish. They're without a doubt going to finish as a bottom 5 team. It's looking like right now, so I don't like ETN. Obviously, for you personally, we know you're pretty deep in running back depth, so I'd try and trade him if I were you. Get a good wide receiver there. You could probably get some value out of him.
Yeah, try to trade him with Brown.
I mean, me personally, I think it's the same thing with Achane that Jacob was saying. You're in a bad offense. It's kind of hard for you to get points on the board as a running back. Travis Etienne's going through that exact same thing. He's definitely going to have a few breakout games, but other than that, he just has who wants him, just straight up. I mean, but apart from that,
I'm going to have to pass.
Yeah, he's not gonna have the same volume. I really wanted them to draft him this year too, but thank God I did.
I was gonna draft him instead of Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
it was between those two. I was so happy I picked Henry.
All right, I have a little topic if you guys want to talk about it.
Go for it.
I know we've been talking about the Jags a lot tonight, but what do you guys think about Trevor Lawrence? What's going on there?
Dude,
if you look at his stats, he is statistically equivalent to Daniel Jones over the last season and a half, I think.
Yeah, it was ever since Thanksgiving. Yeah.
It's
Dude,
really
he
bad.
is literally Daniel Jones. I saw a meme. He was Daniel Jones but with hair product. That's all he is.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is. I just saw a crazy stat. This is his 8th consecutive loss as a starter, which is wild.
Yeah, the hair may
Yeah,
be
they
the only
won.
thing going for this man right now.
Yeah, he is a beautiful man, but
They
his
went on that
football is
crazy
not
losing
very
streak at the
beautiful.
end of last year too.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
that
If
was
I'm Trevor
rough.
Lawrence, I might try modeling.
Yeah.
Dude.
Little
You
career
think
change.
do you think it's time for Jags rebuild, or they just try to keep building this team with Trevor Lawrence, or
I don't think they're good enough to like keep going. I mean,
Yeah,
they
I'm
just their receivers aren't the best either.
I mean,
Christian
I don't
Kirk
hate
ain't no
them though.
good.
I
Christian
disagree.
Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr. has like
That
quietly
yeah,
been
he's been
pretty
good. He's
decent.
been good.
He's been pretty
And
good.
he's a
And
rookie too.
Travis
You guys are
Etienne,
forgetting. The dude's in his first year and he's
No,
performing like a
but
superstar.
when you're constantly trusting the rookie over the guy who's been there for like 5 years, I
That
feel like that
definitely
means
says something.
like Kirk, yeah, he just hasn't been playing good.
yeah, and they have Gabe Davis, but he hasn't been pretty good either.
Yeah,
I
Jacob,
mean,
why are you on your phone, by the way? The comments
Oh
being
my god,
crazy.
I promise you, my laptop quality is so bad.
that was pretty bad. Yeah, I
It
saw a
looks
little
like
sneak peek.
it looks like I'm on a brick, bro. It's better like this, trust.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Um,
as far as my opinion with the Jags goes, when you said like rebuild or whatever, it's kind of the same situation where I think they should just get a rookie quarterback in, have T-Law suffer and play for, a couple, maybe even a year, get the guy settled in. Once T-Law is old enough, just get him out of there, dude. Like, you're not keeping him there because he's good. You're keeping him there just so you can have the rookie train under him.
Like who?
I mean, depending on how they perform,
yeah,
should
they got
yeah, we got to see what their position would become come draft season, but
Shador Sanders.
I
Imagine.
was I was gonna say Shador.
No, I want Shador, bro. I mean,
They're
maybe
not
they
um,
gonna
trade
get
for
him.
Bryce Young.
maybe even
Okay.
Jackson Dart. Maybe even Carson back from Georgia. Any top tier quarterback would work.
What else is there to talk about?
He's crazy Reddit videos. Says there's no way y'all think they should move off T-Law. We do.
Bro,
We
I,
do,
I,
honestly.
I don't know. I'm like stuck in the middle with it. I like T-Law. Like he's a likable guy. He had a good season last year. Like he had a good season. Nobody talked about it really, but like maybe it's just a slump this year. But I don't know. I don't know if I could
12
move on
games.
from him. Huh?
It's a pretty
He
big
had a
slump,
good
if
first like
anything.
12 games.
I know, but
Not,
he dealt with an injury for the last like 5 or so.
I don't know.
He had I think it was his finger or something or his ankle. That's when they
That
had
collapsed.
who'd they have in, bro? It was a funny quarterback. I feel like I gotta look it up.
Is it Chad Henne?
No, no. Let me see.
The guy who like, let's see.
Yeah,
DJ
I can't even
Beathard.
name another. I
DJ
can't even name
Beathard.
another. Yeah, I couldn't even name another Jags quarterback
Oh,
besides
when they
Blake
had,
Bortles.
yeah.
Blake Bortles was so tough. Um, yeah. I mean, should we shout out our TikTok now?
Yeah, I mean,
I
we
mean, it's
could.
not really a
I
show.
I have to put it in
Yeah,
the
you know what?
socials and everything,
Real
but
quick,
Yeah.
real quick. I've got a topic I want to touch on. You can turn this into a TikTok clip if you want. I don't care, but I'm gonna come out and say it. I don't care what anyone thought after the draft. I don't care what the rankings were. I don't care. I don't care what they said about who's this guy, whatever. Maserati Marv is not the best wide receiver not the best rookie wide receiver in the league. The best rookie wide receiver in the league goes by the name of Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is an absolute stud. Malik Neighbors is such a red zone threat. What was it? 4 touchdowns over the last 2 games. He is this Giants offense. He's all they got, and he's
Yeah.
carrying them. He's looking like a great receiver. I think he's better than Maserati Marv. And
what?
yeah, no, Malik Neighbors is out here looking like a rookie Odell Beckham Jr. Looking like prime Odell. I
I
love
love.
Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
I
Dude,
love
hold on.
Malik
I'm so
Neighbors.
sorry,
I
but
mean,
I
I love
can't
him
let that
because he's on
slide.
my team.
I
But
look agree.
yeah.
Look
Um,
at the target. Look at the
dude,
targets.
the red zone targets.
Look at the
He's
red zone
first.
targets. Look at his
He's
red zone
first right
play.
now.
Yeah, he's going up there.
All
He's grabbing
NFL.
these balls over guys. He's bringing them down. He's making cornerbacks his children.
Bro,
I can't. Yeah, I can't
it was
speak
crazy when
any better about Malik Neighbors.
Jake was talking about elite receivers, and he said Malik Neighbors, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Like he just like snuck it in there, and like nobody even said anything. That's how good he's been.
Dude,
It was
here's
an
the
absolute crazy. If you said that after the draft, if you said that week one, people would have called you insane. But
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors, what is he?
I had a good week.
Fifth right now in the league in receiving yards.
I can tell you right now.
I think
Yeah,
some people are
it's
gassing it though.
yeah
I
no
saw a TikTok today. They were taking Garrett Wilson under Malik Neighbors on their rankings.
I would
Like
too.
fantasy wise or just regular
No,
football?
like straight up football rankings.
Oh no.
Straight up? No. Garrett
Yeah,
Wilson's
like
better.
actual like football rankings. They
All
were,
right,
and it was like there were some crazy receivers.
dude. Here's my thing. Maserati Marv comes from Ohio State. Malik Neighbors is coming from LSU. These are two dudes that are coming from elite wide receiver schools, right? The only difference is that Maserati Marv is just here, football wise, and Malik Neighbors is right under him. Okay? The problem that I have with Malik Neighbors being better than him is because there's no one else to pass to. You can only pass to Malik Neighbors. Who else are you going to pass to? You're going to pass the ball to Singletary? He's your running back. Name,
Wait.
name.
Their wide receiver is like Michael Wilson.
Yeah, please
bro.
tell me. Please
Dude,
tell me who the
but they have
Cardinals
they
are
have
passing
they
to
have
other
Trey
than Michael Wilson.
they have Trey McBride
Okay,
and
but
James Conner. Those are two
Wanda-
very very solid options.
Wandale Robinson is not that bad. He's like not that bad. And there's also like Darius Slayton's still there, but he's pretty dog.
He's pretty bad.
And Devin Singletary is more of a receiving running back than James Conner, 100%.
Look,
But I don't
look.
want to like, yeah, I think
Is it
Malik
who
Neighbors
the
is
Giants
better.
tight ended?
The
Giants
Giants tight end
it's like
is
it's
you want to know?
like three of them,
I'll
bro.
tell you who it is.
Wait,
It's
who
it's
is it?
it's Theo Johnson from Penn
Theo
State.
Johnson.
He's
Let's
the starter
go.
now. I thought it was
I-
Bellinger.
It probably
No,
is
Dude,
Bellinger.
Bellinger's third string.
He's
Coming
third
out of the
string. I
draft.
could have sworn
Oh
he
my
was first
God.
last year.
Coming straight out of the NFL draft, going into the NFL draft at the combine, all the attention was Marvin Harrison Jr. this, Marvin Harrison Jr. that.
Yeah.
100%
Marvin
as it
Harrison Jr.
should
this.
be, bro.
I don't care.
He's low-key
Malik
looks
Neighbors
slow.
has been that guy. He's proving that
Sometimes-
he is that
yeah.
guy.
Sometimes he's running
Malik
and it doesn't look
Neighbors-
like he's sprinting.
Malik Neighbors is a better wide receiver.
Dude, I'm sorry. The way that Marv just creates space, I can't. I'm not going to sit here and let this slide that everyone thinks that Malik Neighbors is up here after a 3 weeks worth of performance. Especially if we wait until year 2 when Maserati Marv has even more NFL experience. Don't get me wrong, so is Neighbors. But I think Maserati Marv, dude, this dude's like a generational talent, and there's nobody that's going to sway me away from that.
All right, looking back at it, was this a fair trade? Brandon Ayuk and Kyron for Rashi Rice,
No.
Malik Neighbors, and Brian Robinson Jr.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
Fair
not.
for like who got scammed?
Whoever got Kyron and whatchamacallit?
Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk 100% got
I
scammed.
mean, but like if you think about it, in
Yeah.
the beginning of the season, this is me and Trey, by the way. In the beginning of the season, I gave him Rashi Rice, Romeo, and Odunze for James Conner, or he gave me. No, I gave them that. Yeah, which is kind of crazy because Rashi Rice is probably gonna finish top 10 wide receiver. Like he's been going crazy. And
What do you guys
it's
think about
consistent, too.
Diggs?
Diggs?
Yeah.
Hell no.
the problem I
Bro,
have,
he's really good,
the
Bro,
problem I
Nico
have
Collins
with
is literally
yeah,
better.
the problem I have with Diggs
Von
is that
Diggs.
you still have Tank Dell. Listen, he's been tanking.
Yep.
But
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that has been pretty bad.
like
But not bad,
we're still gonna see him in that offense. I think Stephon Diggs is gonna be a wide receiver too, and for some reason he was passing the ball last game because of that one trick play.
So he had 20 points.
But dude, like
Yeah,
that's
but
not.
Nico Collins. It's still Nico Collins.
Right, it's
And
back
like
and
Joe
forth.
Mixon's coming back, and I think Dalton Schultz was injured. I might be talking out my butt there, but I think he was injured. Maybe I'm just.
Nah, he was there.
Yeah, but like there's too many weapons. There's too many.
I think Diz is gonna get his, but he's on my team, so I'm biased.
Yeah, there's always
Just
All
gonna
bias.
right, but
say,
he's been good though.
I'm getting a whole bunch of FaceTime calls from Schwabe over here, and I can only
Yeah,
imagine it's to rant about Marvin Harrison Jr. to
yeah.
me,
Yeah,
What are
Schwabe,
we
and
gonna?
I'm not gonna hear it.
Schwabe, we can have
Malik
you come
neighbors all the
in.
way.
We could have you come in next week, maybe. You could talk
Yeah, we
about
could
your
have you.
players.
That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Schwabe would literally just come in for the one Marvin Harrison take and leave. That would be the only thing that he does.
He would probably argue like a little bit about the Falcons and then just leave. Yeah.
And look, Jake, if you want to bring up, if you want to throw around the term generational talent for Marvin Harrison Jr., there have been a lot of guys who came out of the draft labeled as a generational talent who haven't produced much in the NFL. One big guy
Bryce
goes by the
Young.
name of Kyle Pitts.
Bryce Young.
Yeah,
Dude, no,
he's been bad this season.
I'm gonna
Pitts?
As a generational talent. Hasn't shown that so far in the league. It's been 3 years.
It's been
His
three
first year was good.
games. Give the dude a
Yeah, but
second to
but it's been
breathe.
3 years. I mean, I guess like Arthur Smith last season, like I guess had
Oh,
sort of
I
talent.
thought we were still talking about Maserati Marv.
No, we're
It's
talking
just
about
We're talking about Kyle Pitts, right? No?
yeah.
Yeah. Nah, yeah, I think Kyle Pitts, this is a season where either if
Yo,
it
someone get
happens,
straight about speaker, bro. I want to hear this.
he said, "Get me on
All
the
right.
phone."
You know what? I'll do it.
Bro,
Sure,
get him on
answer your
speaker.
Nah,
phone.
I want to hear
Schwabe,
this.
just no. We have to have Schwabe join, or else the audio is gonna be all fucked. But
No, I got him right here. I got him right here.
I want to hear this.
He's not answering. He's scared now. He's not a very good public speaker, guys. Give him a second.
Why is
You
this
just hear the
crazy
ringing in
Reddit
the mic. It
rules?
must be mad annoying.
He's no good.
He's ducking. He's ducking because he found
all
out
of
Malik
all of a
Neighbors is
sudden,
better.
we're on the stream,
He
and he
found
doesn't
out
wanna.
Malik Neighbors is better.
Dude, I think this is the year for Kyle Pitts, though. Whether if it happens, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen big, where he's gonna get a lot of points. But from the first 3 games, it's not looking like it's gonna happen. And if it continues to be the case
Oh,
where he continues to not get points,
He's falling
I say
back.
just completely cut him off. All right, let me get him.
All
Let's get
right,
him
all
on
right.
here.
You ready? Let's go. Let's get him on speaker. Babe, you got a minute. You got a minute.
Yo, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, they said yeah. They said yeah. I forgot it's like 9.
Here.
Yeah, we know you're here. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
You got a minute. Not even 30 seconds.
3 games, he had to play 2 high because of how Tyree killed the 40 yards. For that, he put up 130 yards in a singular quarter. For 2, Kyle Pitts is the same age as Sam McCord, my boy. And he broke the record for most receiving yards as a rookie. Put some respect on that man's name. He still has so much time. Oh my God. This great head deal with 2 years Arthur Smith. Injury, still lingering injury right now. I'm sorry he's even against the Chiefs. He was cooking. Oh my God. 50-yard bomb on the Chiefs. Who's doing that on the Stags defense? And another 50-yard bomb that Kirk Cousins got hit as he threw. Otherwise, he got 100 yards.
I think it's been a minute.
I don't want to hear this shit no more. I'm not. This is like,
Oh, this is family friendly. Family friendly.
He said family friendly.
I'm sorry if a player comes out of the draft labeled as generational talent, I expect them to be.
I don't think. Okay, we're gonna cut him off there.
Oh, wait.
All right, yo, we have a question coming from
Oh, we're just ignoring
Dylan.
the whole debate.
Yeah, okay. Because I mean, I'll be fine with answering these questions. Coming from Dylan Fink, 0-3. All players are struggling or hurt. He's in a redraft full PPR league. He just traded away Anthony Richardson, ETN, and Wilson to get Lamar, Montgomery, and Ayuk.
Okay.
I don't
Um,
know if you like that trade.
I like
trade
that.
is pretty good.
We
because,
literally,
as he
we-
said. All right, wait. Let's go one at a time. As he said, he can't afford a loss. Ayuk, till Debo gets back, he's gonna be doing good. I know we only saw 10 points out of him last game, but that was because Juwan Jennings had 3 touchdowns. Juwan Jennings, it's not gonna drop 3 touchdowns every game, so we're gonna see a little more of Ayuk. He's still getting back into the swing of things. But I talked about Ayuk with Shrave actually. What I would do with Ayuk is sell him high when Debo gets back, because I just don't like him with Debo, you know. And I like Montgomery. AR for Lamar, that is amazing, so amazing.
I don't know how
Sorry,
you managed to get that off, by
that
the way.
Yeah,
was
I really like that.
yeah. And losing Garrett Wilson, kind of
That is
like
cool.
that is tough, but like it has to be done sometimes. But as like my only point on that is great trade. Try sell Ayuk higher. Towards like when Debo's coming back. You
Yeah,
guys can
yeah. I
go
mean,
ahead, call
I
this.
think
I'll say something really quick. I don't like Garrett Wilson, dude. I'm sorry, Brandon. I know you have him. I'm not the biggest fan. I think Aaron Rodgers really likes to split up these passes, especially to like Lazard, and now that Mike Williams is going to be coming back, they're going to be implementing more. Um, Thanks, guys. That's a great idea. I'll drop a follow and a like. Thank you, brother. We appreciate that. If you have any more questions, you will stick around. But Brandon, Jacob, what are you guys thinking?
I mean, not much more I can add. I think the trade is a great trade there. You you got a pretty good upgrade at quarterback. I'd say an amazing upgrade at quarterback. I'd say you have a pretty good upgrade at running back. Although Montgomery splits the carries, we see both of these guys can score 15 fantasy points per week. Him and Gibbs, so they're a great duo to have. Montgomery's a great running back to have, and I mean the only part of it I don't like is Wilson for Ayuk. I know Jake said he doesn't like Wilson, but I like Garrett Wilson, and every game though he does though Rodgers does pass the ball around a lot, though he does have that connection with Allen Lazard. We've seen, Garrett Wilson's targets are just going up, and I think they're going to continue to go up. I think as they build a better connection.
I think right now at least they're in like the same tier though. Like Wilson and Ayuk, they're in like the same tier of receiver. And I think you're getting such a big upgrade from Anthony Richardson right now, at least to Lamar. My biggest thing in fantasy, I mean, for the last 2 years, 2 years ago when I won the league, my quarterback, I had to like keep cycling through quarterbacks till I got to Justin Fields. This is when Justin Fields was popping off. And ever since then, my favorite thing in fantasy is to have a solid quarterback because it's like a base like they for you to build off of, especially if your quarterback isn't selling you, because quarterbacks can constantly put up like 20 a game. When they put up like 20 a game, it's a lot easier to build your team around them because you don't need as many points from other players. And I also think Monty for ETN is fine. I mean, if you're getting like that big of an upgraded quarterback, it's fine.
Dude, Monty's pretty underrated. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
This dude's really, really good, and he's definitely going to perform. Like we said with ETN in a really, really weird offense, Monty's going to be, dude. What is he doing in the back? Monty's going to be performing great.
yeah.
I know Gibbs has touches, but still Monty.
I saw him stat through the first 3 weeks. The Lions, Jamar Gibbs and Monty have literally had a perfect 50-50 red zone share, which is kind of crazy. So there's value in both of them. So I don't hate Monty. I actually kind of like him. I'm actually a little bit jealous of Brandon having Monty and Gibbs. That's a
Dude, that's what I'm
great
saying.
little.
Why does he
Yeah,
The
have
he really
Lions
both?
has
stack
a
is
one-two
crazy.
punch.
It's a
The
killing
Lions
duo
stack
there.
is crazy.
Yeah.
That's like a really hard thing to face too, because
Reco-
if the Bills pop off and they're using both running backs, you're screwed
Bill.
that week. Oh,
yeah, you
sorry.
said the.
What am I saying? If the Lions pop off that week,
Yeah.
you're screwed, dude.
But the only thing is bye week. But like bye weeks in fantasy like don't really matter in my opinion. Like if you tank a week but have an amazing team, like you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. I have a lot of my players. I remember a lot of people were criticizing me because a lot of my players have a week 12. Here, Jacob, I don't think you're muted, but I think a lot of players have a week 12 bye in my team, and I'm fine with that. If I just tank the week 12 week, I will be perfectly fine for weeks 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, come playoffs time, I'll be fine. So bye weeks really don't mean all that in fantasy.
Yeah, I
Don't get
didn't even
yourself hung
pay
up.
attention. Shreep said, or sorry, Crazy Reddit video said, thoughts and opinions on best Ohio State receiver Chris Olave. Chris Olive, I don't know who that is, but Chris Olave, I actually like him. If you're patient with him, good. I think we're going to see a lot more of him when the Saints, again, are not in these 40 points a game situations. As we saw in the Eagles, he got a lot more production when it's an actual football game, not just a complete blowout.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Olave, he was a player that struggled the first 2 weeks. And a lot of people were curious, why did I draft him at such a high draft position? I think it was like the 1-2 turn, but you're gonna start to see him pop off. You drafted him there for a reason, and I think we're gonna start seeing that. And we saw a glimpse of it, um, whatchamacallit, in this week. So
Yeah, I mean, Chris Olave is just a good wide receiver. You just got to be patient with him. He's not having the start he wanted. He's not having the start he should have. But I mean, obviously, we saw the Saints offense struggle a bit there. I don't think that same. I mean, while I know I did say that I think the Saints are a pretender, and I don't think that their offense is going to be the same offense that it was in the first 2 weeks, but you know, I think the Saints offense is still going to be pretty good. And if you're just patient with Olave, he'll get his turn. He'll get his targets. He'll get his catches. Though Rashid's looking like the wide receiver one right now, I don't think that lasts for much longer.
yeah, he's just getting deep ball threats, and they were just able to chuck the ball out. But he's still gonna get points regardless, and I'm just saying that because I have him. But yeah, I mean, if anyone doesn't have anything else to say, Jacob, if you want to give your take really quick.
I think Olave is fine. I mean, the Saints, they play like an interesting offense. I mean, Olave is definitely their best receiver, but they love throwing the deep ball to Rashid Shaheed. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's Chris Olave. You drafted him there for a reason. Thank you to everybody that stuck around, though. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back. If anybody doesn't have any questions in chat, we will be back
Yeah.
next week, Tuesday, 8:30. Be there. Be ready. Coming with questions. We're more than happy to answer them. So, yeah, we
Wait,
will.
just
Of
one final thing.
course.
Look out for the TikTok. We're gonna be posting a bunch of different variety of stuff, games, start set stuff like that. Check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's also gonna be like clips from here too, but we're also gonna be recording stuff exclusively for the TikTok. So, just be ready for that. I'll link it in the YouTube bio, but that should be coming out soon. Like we said, we're college kids. We're busy in our bio, but we're gonna make time for this. We're gonna make time for you guys and help you, with your fantasy teams. So, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for stopping by, and yeah.